Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kate McNaughton, and I'm the Director of Development at Weave. And I'm a former business owner myself. And when I had a business, I always loved connecting with other business owners. I always felt like they were my people. And so I'm really grateful to be part of Strong Coffee this morning and help you have time to connect with each other. And we'll get started in just a couple of minutes, but we'll go over some housekeeping in the meantime. So yeah, we start just after 9. Please mute your sound when you're joined. When we're connecting with Heidi, we'll take off the slides and we'll get a see each other's faces. So please have your cameras on. It's nice to see you. And then you'll have time to connect with each other in the breakout rooms in the second half of that hour this morning. But feel free to enter any questions in the chat box as we go through. Ali Warner, who is the volunteer manager at Weave, she will be monitoring the chat box so she can help answer any questions that you might have. I'm just going to see if we can turn off the waiting room. It's not letting me turn it off. Okay, so Ali's just going to keep her eye on it. And then we want to start by thanking our sponsors. They invest in all of our programs across the board. And so we like to recognize them when we can and just show you who's supporting Weave's programs and who's sort of investing in the community. So it's a strong level of support and we really appreciate it. Okay, well, I don't want to delay too much and get into the main event. We're joined this morning with Heidi Whitcomb. And it's my pleasure to introduce her. She's been in business for the past 42 years, beginning with her family business in 1978. And she grew that business into a multi-million-dollar business. So really impressive entrepreneur. She's really involved in her community. She serves on the board of Casa Pacifica, SEAG, who's a Weave client, and Community Memorial Health Systems. She lives in Somas with her husband, Mike, and their chocolate lab, Libby. And she's the proud mother of 3 and also has 3 grandchildren. But despite that, she still has free time and she loves to garden, cook and hike as much as possible. And today we're really excited to hear, for you to hear about her journey as an entrepreneur. So we'll get started right away and we'll dive in with some questions. Heidi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. I know we have a lot to talk about. So maybe you could start with how your journey started as an entrepreneur.
Okay, well, yeah, lots of years ago. So my parents in 1978 bought a very small existing homeowner and construction rental business in Ventura. My dad was wanting to kind of change careers, if you will, and partnered with a friend and bought Ventura Rent. It wasn't called Ventura Rental then, it's called Vassar Rental in Ventura. And so we moved to Ventura. I was finishing up high school, entering into college, that age group. And I worked in that part of the business. I worked in the business immediately when we moved to Ventura. I was a young female in a very male world, which was interesting, and also 40 years ago. So the whole, the whole thing was different, really. That was challenging. It taught me a lot. How to kind of stand on my own 2 feet. My dad had a lot of confidence in me, probably more than he should have, but that's all good. And then we went to a party. Event rental didn't really exist. If you wanted tables and chairs and things like that, you generally borrowed them or rented them from a funeral home. As weird as that is, because that's who had them. And it was about maybe 84, something like that, 1984, 1985. We went to a trade show for our association, American Rental Association. And when we got home, my dad said, "Hey, I really noticed that you, party rental was just starting. So just tables and chairs and one pattern of china out there and whatnot. So there was just a couple of booths at the show that sold party event equipment. and well, fountains, even champagne fountains. So it was kind of that era. And when we got home, my dad said, "Hey, I noticed, I felt like your eyes really lit up when we checked out these party rental booths, and I will support you if you want to take that and run with it." He said, I'll support you. And he gave me 3 business rules and gave me a little bit of a budget that I could spend. And that day, I was so excited. And that day I bought 10 8-foot tables and 100 brown Samsonite chairs, and off we ran from there. So
That's
that was my
amazing.
start. Yeah.
What were the 3 business rules?
My 3 business rules were, 1, I had to start with my seed money, and I could only buy inventory when I can afford to pay for it. So I couldn't go into debt, basically. And we pretty much stayed out of debt our whole business career. Not that we were never in debt, but it was something I lived with always. My second business rule was I had to operate in an existing location. At that point, we had 2 locations, one on Telegraph Road, one down on Stanley Avenue. And I had to operate within that. Now, I know that sounds really easy, but picture setting up a beautiful table setting next to a tractor, right? So I had to learn how to, again, carve out my own world, my own space, and make it beautiful. And then thirdly, which is an interesting rule, he said, I want you to learn that you don't have to do business with everybody. I highly disagreed with that at first. I was like, oh, no, Dad. I want every dollar. I want every customer. I want it all. I'm new. I got to do this. And he said, no, you don't. You don't have to do business with everybody. So as I aged, I got smarter and further into business. I realized that was probably the most important rule that he gave me.
Nice. So you had your 3 rules and some seed money. Did you have any prior experience apart from the construction side of things?
Oh, maybe a little bit, but not, it was a very different clientele. I mean, I learned how to work with people, but it was a very different clientele. I really had to go out and kind of rattle the trees and, go meet with, there was, probably only a couple of caterers in Ventura. So I went out and met with them and women's groups and churches and anybody I thought of that did events.
And then that was almost 40 years ago. That was
Yes.
94, I think you said.
Yes.
So what have you achieved in that time that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, holy moly. Well, yeah, so we kept the construction side, the homeowner construction side, which I still I still was able to be involved and have ownership in that. We kept that up until about, it's probably been 8 years ago now. Sunbelt bought the construction side of our business. So, we grew and grew and grew. Many employees, at one point over 100.
Wow.
Gosh, I'm so proud of our work as a whole, serving the community. By 2019, we were doing over 250 events a month was our average. I feel like we've given a lot of our employees really good livelihood, given a lot to our community, and just proud of our growth and honestly proud of how we managed it, because it's not always easy.
So you went from, you bought your 10 tables and some chairs, and then you got to the point where you were having 250 events a month. So how did you learn as you went, or how did you make that happen?
I don't know. I'm a little bit of a baptism by fire girl, so I say yes sometimes, and then turn around or walk out of the room or wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my gosh, what have I done? How am I ever going to achieve this? One thing I can think of to share, which is, now I look at it, it's kind of funny, but we were just new in business. I don't even think we owned any tents at that point, maybe 10 by 10s, but really nothing. And I got a call. Ojai Valley Inn was one of our clients. So I went to the hotels and blah, blah, blah. And so they were a table and chair client. You know, they were very small at the time too. And they called one day and they said, hey, Heidi, we've got somebody who wants to host a golf tournament here. Would you come up and meet with them about, you know, some rentals? I said, oh, absolutely. I'd love to. So I go up and I meet with, again, all males, all guys. I'm the only woman. And they proposed to me that they're going to have a PGA senior tour at the Ojai Valley Inn. And, you know, they wanted us to do all the rentals and the tents and all that stuff. I should have never said yes, honestly. I'd never done anything like that. Like I said, I don't even believe, I know we didn't own the equipment. But I said, yes. I said, yes, sure, we'll do it. And then I had, you know, a few months to figure it out and we pulled it off. It was happy. They were happy. They used us every senior event from there on at the Ojai Valley Inn, and the Ojai Valley Inn is still a Ventura rental client, you know? So a lot of my growth and learning as I've gone along has been to say yes and then figure it out. And I'm not saying being reckless, there's a difference, but challenging yourself, you know, pushing yourself a little bit, get out of your comfort zone, push yourself, say yes, and then figure it out, even if you have to lean on, you know, other people to learn. That's probably my biggest way I've grown.
I love that, because so often we wait until we're 100% ready for something before we try it. You know, we think we've got to nail down every detail and really be ready to go.
It'll never be perfect if you win.
And then sort of a side question, I work in events too, you know, my role is to put on events for We, and things always go wrong on event day. Something happens, like the weather changes or the 101 closes or something always happens. So how did you handle that kind of uncertainty or, you know, that kind of challenge on day of events? Like, did you have like a mantra or something for that?
You know, I've had a few really good mentors over my career, and I would highly advise any business owner, especially newer business, to connect with other people that are your, you know, whoever your people are. If they're in the same industry, that's great. They don't have to be in the same industry, but we did join a business advisory group for about, I don't know, 10 years or something. It was super, super helpful. But as far as event day, again, you just, I mean, I've had all kinds of things, you know, like you say, crop up, from broken water pipes because our tent stake, you know, hits a water main and the event's in 2 hours, and, you know, all kinds of crazy things happen. And I don't know, you know, I just have to dig deep and deal with it at the moment, make the best choice you can. And it all seems to work out, you know, it really does. But, you know, at the moment you're freaking out, right? I don't know. I just try to keep my head on. I try to keep my cool. I try to keep my head on. Again, seek out whoever can help you with that problem. If it's I don't know, a plumber, I've had to have a bee exterminator come at the last minute, you know, all kinds of things like that. But reach out for help, you know, reach out for help and try to keep your head on.
Right.
And then afterwards, if you need to cry and scream or whatever you need to do it then. But I just learned really quickly that I was the, I don't know, not voice of reason, but I was the calm one to try to help get us through this situation. So,
right.
Yeah, you're making me have gray hairs when you ask that question.
Well, what we always say on our team is like, nobody knows that we wanted to have this particular thing here, and we know
that's true. That's true.
The guests usually don't know if something went wrong.
Absolutely.
They might see you spreading a bit, but
absolutely. I always say there has to be a little something, so hope that it is a little something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not
something,
a
yeah.
big, not a big something.
Yeah, expect something,
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then, you know, you're an events company, and we all remember when COVID started, every industry got impacted, but events sort of overnight got, you know,
Yes.
went away, and they went away for some long amount of time. And there was a lot of uncertainty there, and you're running an events company. So take us back to, how did that feel? And then, what did you do? How did you pivot?
Oh man, that could be a part two of this, but I'll Reader's Digest version it. We are an event company. We're very reservation based, very forward thinking. You know, we generally have events on our books anywhere from a year to 2 years out. We are seasonal, so you need to know that too. Events are seasonal, so we really make our money May through October, maybe November, and then we live off any savings or credit cards or things like that in the winter. So March of 2020, we had 2020 was going to be a fabulous year for us. Our books were super strong. Our events were very strong. We had a lot of weekends we were sold out. And so therefore we had bought a lot of equipment to prepare for this oncoming season. We had staffed up a little bit by March, done those things. So my husband and I went to a restaurant show the weekend of March. It was like 12th and 13th, whatever that was right there. I remember the 13th was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We went over to Las Vegas to a restaurant show. We bought a bunch of equipment. I remember having to use my personal credit card because my couple of business credit cards were full. Not a good spot to be in, but that's where we were, because again, we're seasonal. And in our industry, the joke is you take April and you pay off your debt, and then by May you can make some money, right? So we had bought this equipment. We had his truck full of equipment. We were driving back from Vegas from the restaurant show, and you know, the shutdown happened that morning, and I just remember being sick, like literally like sick to my stomach. Like, what the heck are we going to do here? We have all this debt that we need to pay. Our bank account is pretty slim. What are we going to do? And the phone started ringing, and these events started canceling and started canceling. And at one point, one day, I believe it was that day, we had over $1 million of business cancel. And I remember calling into the office on my drive home from Vegas and just saying, look, guys, don't call me anymore with all these cancellations, because emotionally I can't handle it, you know, and I'm super strong. And I just couldn't take it anymore, because I didn't know what we were going to do. You know, I had no clue. So luckily I was in the car with my husband for a few hours, and we strategized. I mean, we literally made a list. I still have it, of all of our employees. And, you know, we had to lay some off, very few, but we had to lay some off. Then we offered like 50% work to some, we offered 75% work to some. Nobody was at 100%. My husband and I went no check, you know, for quite a while. We just knew we had to do that. We had to figure it out. And it was not pretty, you know. Luckily we lost no employees other than, you know, we had a few brand new ones that we just said, hey, we can't fulfill this agreement. But other than that, we had a big employee meeting that Monday, brought everybody in. We were very transparent. This is where we are. This is what it looks like. We basically have no business moving forward, at least for the next 6 weeks or so. You know, we all thought it was also going to be like a, 4 to 6 week shutdown, right?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to hold on like for a month, thinking, okay, a month, I got to get through a month, you know, I got to get through 4 to 6 weeks here, not knowing it was going to be years. And again, we were just really transparent. It was painful. We cried with them, and we delivered, Mike and I delivered like food baskets to, most of our employees weekly because we were worried about them and their families, and little by little though, we had done a project. Kate, you and I talked about this. We had done a project for a major utility company in late 19, no idea COVID was coming. And it was basically an emergency response project. It was probably another one of those things that I should have never said yes to, but I did. And then I figured it out and it went really well. And basically it was setting up a camp environment where a group of people could live without any in and out to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be housed, they had showers, food, a mailroom, all these things in one area. Maybe they would go out to work, but then come straight back. It was very controlled environment. Well, since we had done that, the word had gotten out a little bit about this project because the utility company let other people come and visit. Once it was set up, there was 2 days where you could come and you could check out this camp, basically, they called it, like an emergency camp. So, and we had done a little bit of work also, let me go back and say with the Thomas Fire and the floods up in Montecito, we pitched in on those things too and supplied goods, mostly it was tents and things. So it probably was about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks after the shutdown. And the phone started to ring a little bit, but it was different. It was the hospitals wanting us to set up testing tents, or there was no vaccinations yet, but it was testing tents. It was corporations that were mandated to work that needed again, somewhere for their employees to go and be screened and temperature checked and all that and have some privacy. It was the sheriff's department with the county of Ventura. It was public health. So little by little, we started to book some business. And I was just, I still would get emotional to tell you, I was just so grateful for that little bit of business. We started a text group with our managers at work. And I just popped up on my phone yesterday. It was called War 2020. And basically when I would get a new booking, we changed all the phones to my cell phone number because our office, of course, was closed. And so all the calls came to my cell phone, which was fine. And I say all, there wasn't many to begin with. So I was so grateful. And when we would get a new order, our staff just pitched in and made it happen. And I would send a little thing out to War 2020. Okay, guys, today we had 1 order. Okay, today we had 2 or 3, and it just blossomed, So by about July, we were really getting some traction in that field. And we were actually able to have the best 24 months ever in our business after that. But it was just selling ourselves and positioning ourselves to a different group, being really flexible, being adaptable, again, saying yes to things that were not in our norm, but they were a way to keep us alive.
Yeah.
So, and it paid off.
Well, I just want to reflect that back to you because, you've been in business for more than 40 years. You're in the events industry crumbles, and you still had your most successful years in your history. And I think, I remember, the reason we wanted to talk about that today, even though it's like a PTSD topic for some people, is it's just so inspiring that in a time when you could have gone under, you really kind of did something incredible. And public service, like we all needed those vaccination sites when they got set up and stuff. And so it's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm very much a heart leader. I really am very much a heart leader. And so for me, I loved that. I loved that. Again, that being able to give back, I just loved it.
And so that was sort of your COVID pivot. What about what's next? What's going on now and next for you in your business?
So, yeah, we've had a lot of change. We actually, this line of work, we call it support services. We actually carved it out we carved it out from our regular event business as far as the name and everything. It has a different name. We call it Wits Watts. A lot of it's power generation, because that's so important. And our last name's Whitcomb, so it kind of was a joke name to start. Now it's stuck, but we handled it differently, separately. And so we had an opportunity last fall come to us to sell the social side of Ventura Rental, the weddings, the events, all that. And we did that. We actually closed escrow this February.
Thanks.
And so, but what we did do is we kept the support services. And so now my husband and I and a small group, we still have continued with the support services, and we're super excited about that. You know, it's less stressful, a little less work, which is good. You know, we're not spring chickens, so it's nice. And then, and we love the work. So it's different, but it's fun. It really kind of takes me back to my roots, honestly, of where we started in business. And so that's what's new, is we're just building and starting this again from the ground up. You know, currently I'm working on logo and all these things that I haven't worked on for 40 years, you know.
Nice.
But it's fun. It's fun. So we're just kind of doing a new venture.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love how you listen. So like you're in the construction, but the rentals, the party side of it was calling to you. And then you did that for a long time. And then you were like, hey, there's this new, you kind of like,
yeah.
It's very cool. So what advice would you give to new entrepreneurs? What kind of the spring chickens?
Oh gosh. You know, again, just I think you have to stay open to opportunity. I think is probably the biggest thing. And I know that's scary. You can all have my phone number. You can call me when that happens, and we'll even talk about it if you want. But I think new opportunity, the right opportunities are so important to really look at them. And not all the times I've said yes has it been a good thing. There's many times I've kicked myself, and I've heard my dad's advice, like, you don't have to do business with everybody. But I do think you stay very, very open by listening and just being aware of what opportunities exist. I think you will pay really great attention to your staff. You know, for me, our staff is everything, you know, and their friends are still very close friends. And I wanted to know about them. How was their family? What were some of the trials they were having at the moment? Is there a way we could help them with that? I think you really honor you know, when you find good people that will work for you or with you, you really honor them. I think you honor yourself. You know, you learn what kind of a leader you are, what kind of an owner you are, what makes you tick, and you honor that. Again, I'm kind of soft. I'm kind of a heart leader, and I just had to be okay with that. You know, I had a coupon in our system called Mike and Heidi Love, and it basically was like, I want to help this person. I want to do this. And I used it, you know, and I don't know, maybe a business person will tell me, well, that's not very professional, but you know, it worked for me because it reminded me, this is when I want to help somebody. This is when I want to give them some love. So I think you do that with your staff, as well as just whatever your gift is, whatever speaks to you, you honor that. I don't know, you know, and again, like you said, don't wait for everything to be perfect, because if you wait for all the stars to align every time you're going to make a decision, you're never going to get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And something I always talk to my kids about, they hated it when they were teenagers. Now they appreciate it, was, you know, FIO, figure it out. And oftentimes I'd say to them, you know what, and they'd tell me a situation, I'd be like, FIO guys, let's figure this out. So, that would be a little bit of my advice, I guess. And, also entrepreneurship is not for everybody. So honor yourself. And if it's for you and it checks all the boxes, that's fabulous. We need all the entrepreneurs we can get. But if somebody has too much anxiety and it doesn't work for them, then that's okay too. So, anyway, that's a little bit of my advice. I don't know. I'm sure I have more, but
I love
probably
that.
enough.
I love the figure it out. I think so often we think that everyone else knows the answers to the things that they're working on, but quite often nobody knows. Everyone's just
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll become the expert in a particular situation or environment because of that.
Yeah.
Because you figured it out and then you can share with others. Also, meet up with your people. Like if you have a group of business owners, get together. I mean, Weave does a great job getting everybody together, and I so appreciate that, and that's why I love Weave. But outside of that, have a half a day group once, a quarter or something, and just talk about the things that pain you and what are you doing? I don't know, Sally, what are you doing? And it could be everything from motherhood and business and trying to balance that to finances, but we always learned a lot from our business advisory groups because it was a safe environment. You could kind of come and spill all the beans with no judgment.
Yeah. I remember, and I think that part of that is having an abundance mindset of like sharing information is helpful. We all rise together. I remember like after the debriefers, I worked in nonprofit still, but all the nonprofits got together and like, how are you handling it? What are we doing? And just having someone to share with is so vital. I don't know if anyone has me.
It also helps you not to feel alone.
Yeah.
So often in business, we feel like, oh, I'm the only one that has this problem. Oh, I'm the only one that has employees like this or whatever. And what you start to realize is you're not, there's other people too. And so learn from that. Yeah.
And sometimes you can come up with a plan together. You can come up with your plan together of making it up. Okay, we do have a question. I see, can you tell us more about your business advisory group, how you joined and all found out about it?
For sure. The particular environment we had to join was through our American Rental Association. They have an arm of business advisory groups, and there's one guy who kind of puts it together, and he matches you up with or puts together groups of like-sized businesses. Our businesses that go together happen to be all over the United States, or somebody in Texas, somebody in Florida, somebody in Napa, which was interesting because I had mentored her when she started. And so they were part of our group, and we would get together twice a year, and we would spend like 3 days-ish together. We'd usually try to go to where somebody could host. And that's our business advisor group. I know there's all kinds of business advisory groups out there. If anybody was interested in starting a side business advisory group, I'd be happy to help with that. But yeah, that's how we did it. We did it through the American Rental, through our association. So, and we hired each group had a moderator, which was great because it kept us on task and did some pre-work and stuff like that. So it was great. There was a little bit of a cost to it, but what we gained was 100 times greater than the cost.